Welcome, curious minds. Today we're taking a deep dive into a corner of the global economy you might not have thought much about before, but it's one that's quietly shaping industries worldwide. Our mission today: unpack the intricate landscape of the heat treatment drying oven market. Now, before you picture your kitchen oven, think big. Massive industrial machines. They're absolutely critical for preparing materials in sectors like automotive, electronics, even pharmaceuticals, places where precise temperature control is everything: drying, strengthening, curing, car parts, circuit boards, you name it.
That's exactly right. If you've ever wondered how manufacturers get that level of precision with materials, well, these ovens are a really foundational piece of the puzzle. And what's truly fascinating, I think, is the growth. It's consistent, it's significant. Our sources project that the total global sales revenue, which was already a solid $702 million back in 2021, is set to surge to nearly $1.2 billion by 2033. That shows a steady compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of over 4.3%. Pretty impressive.
Okay, let's unpack that growth. Because, yeah, the overall trend is clear, up and to the right, but the real story, like you said, is where this is happening and maybe why. So we're going to navigate these global numbers, then kind of zoom in on the regional dynamics that are truly, well, heating things up.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you see that, yes, the global market's expanding generally,
Hmm.
but some regions are just driving that growth much more aggressively. It really reveals some underlying shifts in, global manufacturing and industrial development.
So which parts of the world are leading the charge here? Where's the main action?
Well, let's start with Asia Pacific. It's projected as the undisputed major growth driver, no question. Just that region alone accounted for over $274 million in 2021. And by 2033, that number is forecasted to surge to nearly $500 million, almost $491 million. That showcases the strongest regional KGR we're seeing at almost 5%.
500 million. Okay. And here's where it gets really interesting, right? Within Asia Pacific, China obviously continues its huge contribution, growing from about $81 million to $148 million. But the real standout seems to be India. India is poised for the fastest growth in the whole region. We're talking a remarkable 5.9% CAGR, almost 6% yearly growth. It's basically set to double its market size, from roughly $33 million in 2021 to over $66 million by 2033. So this raises a big question. What's specifically fueling this sort of accelerated demand in places like India? And also Southeast Asia, you mentioned, which is also nearly doubling its market size to over $53 million. What's going on there?
That's a crucial point. Our sources suggest this explosive growth in India and Southeast Asia, it seems to be driven by a really powerful combination of factors, mainly rapid industrialization, particularly in sectors like automotive and electronics manufacturing. That's huge in both regions. You're seeing massive investments in new factories, new production capabilities, which directly translates to a greater need for these, precision heat treatment processes. Think about the surge in domestic car production or the expansion of electronics assembly lines. Each one needs a really robust supply chain for component manufacturing, for finishing. These ovens are part of that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Industrial engines firing up. So while Asia Pacific is leading with that sheer volume and really rapid expansion, what about the more established industrial powerhouses like North America? Are we seeing similar growth there, or is it a different kind of trajectory?
North America is definitely still a major contributor. It shows solid, consistent expansion. It generated over $188 million back in 2021, and the forecast takes it to nearly $293 million by 2033. That comes out to a healthy CAGR just under 3.8%. So still very respectable growth.
Right. And within North America itself, how do the different countries stack up?
Well, the United States, as you'd probably expect, accounts for the lion's share. It's projected to grow to over $232 million by 2033. Canada also shows strong momentum, actually. Its CAGR is over 4.3%, which is, outperforming the regional average slightly. It goes from about $23.5 million to $39 million. And Mexico continues its steady contribution, too, so maybe not growing at the blistering pace of some emerging Asian markets.
Yeah.
But North America's continued expansion definitely indicates sustained industrial activity and demand for advanced manufacturing processes.
Fascinating. Okay, shifting across the Atlantic to Europe, a region with such deep manufacturing roots, what's the market landscape look like there?
Europe's market generated almost $137 million in 2021, and it's expected to climb to over $215 million by 2033. That marks a solid CAGR of nearly 3.9%, pretty close to North America's rate.
And within Europe, any particular standouts or notable trends jumping out?
Germany, and this is probably no surprise, really outpaces the others there. It has a healthy 4.5% CIGR, growing from about $31 million to almost $52 million. Shows its continued industrial strength.
Yeah.
The UK also shows good growth. But what's interesting, perhaps, is Russia's more modest growth. It's under 2.5% CAGR. That's actually the lowest in the region, which, might suggest different priorities or maybe slower industrial investment compared to its European neighbors. Meanwhile, even smaller segments like Luxembourg, for instance, are still showing positive growth. It reinforces that broad demand for these systems.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how those wider regional factors might subtly play into these market trends. Okay, let's shift south now, South America. What kind of momentum are we seeing down there?
South America's market stood at over $41 million in 2021. It's projected to rise to nearly $72 million by 2033. That gives it a pretty robust CAGR of almost 4.7%. So faster growth than North America or Europe, actually.
Yeah.
Now, Brazil led the region back in 2021 in terms of size, but Argentina shows particularly strong momentum going forward. Its CAGR is an impressive 5.3%. It's set to reach over $11.6 million by 2033. So that suggests, emerging industrial applications and investment happening in the Southern Cone.
Interesting. Okay, and finally, let's just wrap up the globe here with the Middle East and Africa. Are these regions also riding this wave of growth?
Oh, absolutely. The Middle East saw almost $34 million in 2021. That's projected to grow to nearly $58 million by 2033. The CAGR there is over 4.5%. The UAE, for example, shows particularly strong growth within that, aiming for over $10 million by 2033. It kind of highlights diversification efforts in industrial development in the Gulf. And then finally, Africa. While starting from a smaller base, nearly $27.4 million in 2021, it's anticipated to reach over $46.5 million by 2033. That's a CIGR of just over 4%. South Africa is really leading that charge, set to hit over $21 million by 2033 with its own robust 4.5% CAGR. So that definitely indicates significant industrial expansion happening on the continent as well.
Wow. Okay, so we've toured the globe, seen growth pretty much everywhere, but at different speeds. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to connect these numbers, these regional dynamics to the real world?
Yeah, I think this comprehensive analysis points a really clear picture. There's a consistent growth trajectory across all regions for this market. And crucially, this isn't just, random expansion. It's driven by really foundational factors. Things like relentless industrial demand, ongoing technological advancements, making these ovens better, more efficient, more precise. And importantly, that widespread expansion into developing markets, especially what we saw in Asia. Every territory, from Asia Pacific with its leading, really rapid growth to the steady, significant expansion even in Africa. It all signals a global commitment to advanced manufacturing and material preparation.
It's a powerful illustration, isn't it? How even these specialized industrial sectors, things you might not think about every day, they aren't isolated at all. They powerfully reflect these broader global economic shifts, manufacturing trends, and where the new industrial hubs are emerging.
Exactly. And maybe this raises an important final question for you to think about. Considering this consistent growth across such diverse economies, especially that accelerated growth we talked about in developing markets, what specific innovations or perhaps evolving material science demands? What do you think is most fueling this continuous need for these advanced heat treatment drying ovens right now, particularly in those fastest growing regions?
Yeah, definitely something to ponder as you connect these dots in your own understanding of global industry. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.